I'm Heather, and this is a Living with Addiction podcast, where I show you how you have more power than you realize when it comes to helping yourself and your child that's struggling with addiction. How are we doing today? I want to share some perspective about detaching with love with you today. When you hear about addiction, detaching with love is often what's recommended. The problem with that is it's so confusing, and because of that, it's often misunderstood and misused. It also comes with a lot of judgment attached to it because we're told if we don't do it, then we're contributing to the demise of our children. Like, that's just what we need to hear, right? That's a lot of pressure when we already feel tormented and confused. We're told to do something that feels like the opposite of parenting. And, we've been taking care of our kids and nurturing them their whole lives. It feels really good to us to take care of them, but now we're being told to stop. And that's the big misunderstanding. We don't have to stop taking care of them. We have to change how we take care of them. I'm just switching out one word. We don't have to stop taking care of them. We have to change how we take care of them. But it makes all the difference in how it feels to us and how it feels to our kids. We need a new approach because what we've been doing isn't working. And I can still remember the day it hit me that nothing I was doing to try to help my daughter was working. I was taking her to so many doctor appointments. We had at least 3 appointments every week. There was often 4 or more. And of course, they weren't near my job. One of the doctors that she saw twice a week was an hour drive each way. So it was 2 hours of driving in heavy traffic for every appointment. And at the time, I was working a lot of hours. So I was like running myself ragged trying to get her to all these appointments she didn't even want to go to. I would be sitting in the office waiting for her or sitting in my car working and on the computer or talking on the phone, stressed out, feeling like I should be at work instead of these appointments. And, it was so much friction in the car driving to and from these appointments because my daughter didn't want to go. And there was so much tension between us. I was so attached to the outcome. I was so hell-bent on figuring it out and fixing her. I was willing to do anything to help her. I did that for 2 years. The problem was she wasn't interested in being sober. She didn't want to go to any of the doctors. She was just going because I was making her, and she was a minor at the time. Looking back, I'm not surprised that she ran away all of the time during those years. I wanted to run away from the insanity too. It was just exhausting. But one day, in that utter exhaustion, I realized that I was working harder than her. It really hit me and made an impact on me. It was clear I could actually see what I was doing to both of us. And what I decided to do next was really scary for me. I just stopped. I stopped all the madness. I canceled all the doctor appointments, and I just stopped taking her. And I was terrified. I felt like I was giving up, and I felt like her addiction had won. But what I realized after I got some rest and perspective was that I had reached acceptance of reality. She did not want to be sober, and no matter what I did, I could not control her. What I did in that moment was I detached from her addiction. I didn't detach from her, just her addiction. So I want to be very clear because my whole point in this doing this podcast about detaching with love is that I'm clear about what it actually is. And detachment is from the situation, not the person. I say it one more time. Detachment is from the situation and not the person. That means you get to stop all the rescue missions that only a superhero parent can pull off. You get to say no because you know that saying yes isn't helping. You get to create the separateness that allows your child the dignity to be an adult and make adult decisions. You don't have to be in the middle of your child's addiction anymore. You can step outside of it. When we're attached to them and their outcome, and we're trying to control them, then we're on the roller coaster of their addiction with them. We end up manipulating the situations to try and get them to do what we want so that we can be okay. It's exhausting and frustrating because they will not be controlled. I know that my daughter, she would not be controlled. Most people won't. And when we detach from that roller coaster ride of their addiction, it minimizes how it affects us. It doesn't end it. Of course, they're our kids and we love them, and it's horrific to watch them go through this, but it minimizes it. And that's what we have to focus on, is the way that we can minimize the damage that it does to our lives. And so we can create our own peace of mind no matter what our kids are doing, because we do not know how long this will last. But here's why I want to make sure you understand detaching with love today. A mother once asked me if it was okay for her to text her daughter that was addicted to say that she loved her. My heart broke for that mother that was afraid to tell her daughter that she loved her because she was supposed to be detaching. And I felt angry that detaching with love is so misunderstood. Yes, let me say it again. Yes, it is okay to love your child and tell them that you love them, whether they are in active addiction or not. You both need that connection. As parents, we just want to love our kids. Addiction takes so much from us, but it does not get to steal our right to love our kids or our experience of how good it feels to tell them we love them. Sometimes parents detach with anger instead of love because it seems easier to turn off the relationship and avoid the pain than it is to detach with love and set boundaries. Detaching with love is very vulnerable. You have to be willing to feel all the yucky feelings that come up when you say, I love you, but no. And if you want more information about how to say no, make sure you listen to the last episode I did, episode 11, about boundaries. But the important thing to see here is that whether you detach in love or in anger, there's discomfort. Because if detaching in anger seems easier, I want you to know that there is just the discomfort of feeling like you turned your back on them because you had no idea what else to do. Or if you detach with love, there's a discomfort of working through how hard it is to say no with an open and loving heart. There is no easy way. And as I said before, detachment is the opposite of control. It's the realization that you are the only thing that you can control. Detaching with love moves your focus from your child to you because you fully accept that you are the only one that you can help. And by the time you've been through enough with your child that's addicted that you're ready to detach, you and your life could probably use some attention anyway. I know that my life needed a lot of attention by the time I started to detach with love. And if you don't start working on creating emotional independence from your child and getting support from yourself for yourself to deal with their addiction, detachment will be painful and it'll be hard to stick with. You'll be stuck between the discomfort of saying no and the discomfort of wanting to say yes because it seems easier. But you know that saying yes isn't helping. And that's a hard spot to be in. You have to believe what you are doing is right and like your reasons for doing it. And it takes time to figure that out. It's a process. I didn't just detach all at once. The story I told about stopping all the doctor's appointments was just the beginning of the process of detaching with love. So don't expect to just arrive at the final destination of a detachment. You're human and you have feelings, so it won't always be easy. You might take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Just make sure that you have compassion for yourself instead of judgment, because judgment is a roadblock that stops your progress. I like to think about my personal journey of recovery from trying to control and focusing on everything but my daughter, and my journey to focusing on loving and taking care of myself. Like, I always picture a graph, and the lines go up and down, but it steadily goes up and to the right. Like, there's always progress, but there's a lot of ups and downs along the way. And when you're in one of those down points, it feels like you're failing. And so you have to look at the big picture. You have to zoom out and give yourself credit for all of the progress that you've made and not focus on those times when it's a struggle and you feel like you're failing. You have to focus on the big picture of moving forward. So have that compassion for yourself, because none of the stuff that I'm sharing is easy. Because if it was easy, we'd all be doing it and I wouldn't be talking about it. So just remember that, to have that compassion for yourself. And detachment is not one size fits all. It looked different for me when my daughter was a minor versus when she was an adult. Like, the detachment was totally different. And many of our kids have co occurring disorders. Like, each situation has different factors. So each parent needs to have enough support and knowledge of addiction that they can decide what detachment with love and boundaries looks like for them and their family. And so I encourage you to look into that for yourself. Like, don't just take my opinion. Don't just take one person's opinion. I did tons of research to find what I liked and what worked with me, for me, what resonated with me. It's so important that you are creating beliefs for yourself that work for you and your family. The skills that you need to deal with your child's addiction have to be worked on and built. It's totally worth the work, though. My daughter and her addiction are my teachers. And I would have preferred to have learned the lessons that I've learned in another way, of course. But the pain from those lessons has turned into a passion for helping other parents take their life back from their child's addiction and learn how to create their own peace of mind and happiness. And if you need help with your child's addiction, use the link that I'm going to put in the show notes to sign up for a call with me, because you deserve help and support too. You do not have to do this alone. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want to learn more about my work, go to heatherrosscoaching.com. If you want to help other parents who are struggling with a child's addiction, you can do it two different ways. First, you can share the podcast with them directly, or you can share it on your social media. Second, you can leave a review. Talk to you next week.